Hello everyone, today I'm here to share with you some of my favorite spooky reads. I'm going to share with you a lot of YA books, some middle grade books, and a few graphic novels. If you're looking for any adult thrillers or mysteries in this video, sadly you will not find them. I am filming a favorite mystery thrillers video that is coming next week, so stay tuned for that because it's going to be its own separate video because I feel like it should be. So in this video it's going to be a lot of YA titles that fall under the mystery thriller but are just strictly YA. There's just a whole plethora of books that I think are perfect to read around Halloween time. Spooky reads rather, so I have quite a few to share with you, so let's begin. The first book I want to recommend, I recommend it every single year and will continue to do so, and that is Slasher Girls and Monster Boys. This is a short story collection full of really scary stories. It's edited by April Genevieve Chicolte, and it has a lot of really good stories in it. Overall, I like the majority of the stories, and there was a few that I didn't love, but I recommend if you just love kind of creepy Halloween reads, I would highly recommend this one because it gives you just that. It gives you a little taste of a whole plethora of different stories without devouring one full story, if that makes any sense. I do have a video review on it and I rated each of the stories as well as gave them a spooky factor of scary rating, so if you want to check that out I will link it right here. But yeah, I talk about this book a lot every Halloween. I just really love it. It's probably my favorite Halloween read, honestly. Speaking of favorite Halloween reads, I have The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw. I actually read this in July, and I knew as soon as I read it, it was going to be one of my favorite Halloween reads. This is about a town called Sparrow, and it is a cursed town because centuries ago there was these three sisters that everyone dubbed as witches. So the townspeople decided to tie stones to their ankles and throw these sisters in the river to kill them because they were said witches. Now, ever since then, these three sisters come back single summer for 2 weeks, and they inhabit the bodies of 3 local teenage girls. And during those 2 weeks, these 3 sisters lure teenage boys into the river to their death. So it's kind of like their vengeance upon the town of Sparrow. And this is a widely known thing. People travel to Sparrow for this. I want to say it's the swan season or something. It's people from all over the country come to Sparrow for these 2 weeks to really witness the events that happens during these 2 weeks. In this book, we follow a main character named Penny, who is an islander, and she kind of doesn't believe in Sparrow. She kind of doesn't believe in this tale, and then things happen to her. Either way, I really enjoy it. If you love a good witchy book and a very atmospheric read, this is perfect for Halloween. One of my all-time favorites. It is kind of split in the middle. A lot of people really enjoy it and a lot of people don't like it. I really enjoyed it just for the sheer atmospheric vibe it gave me, so highly recommend. Next up, I have a book I just finished that I had to put on this video, and that is Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. If you've heard of Marisha Pessl, she wrote the very popular book called Film, and which is an adult book, which I still haven't read. This is a YA book, and I've heard if you've read Night Film and go into comparison of this book, you're not gonna get the comparison at all because they're very different books, and I can't say that because I haven't read Night Film, but Neverworld Wake is a mind insert of a book. It's gonna mess with your mind. You're gonna think several different things. You're not gonna know what's up, what's down, what's right, what's left. You're just gonna be sheer confused throughout this whole novel, but you're gonna enjoy it for some reason. At least I did. This book is very hard to explain. I don't want to explain it too much because I feel like it would give a lot away, and I feel like with this book you have to go into it knowing a ton, but just know that you're going to get a ride out of it. All I'm going to say about this book is we follow a main character named Bee, and Bee is kind of heartbroken because her boyfriend Jim died a year ago, and Bee went to this really elite boarding school called Wincroft, and she has several friends, and they were all best friends of her boyfriend Jim, and then Jim dies, and Jim's death has kind of been unsolved. Nobody knows what happens, and it was ruled as a suicide, but Bee does not believe that. So on the 1-year kind of anniversary of Jim's death, she decides to go back up to the boarding school or go back to her friend's house, and all her friends are there, and things happen. I'm going to say, I know I'm very vague on this, but I feel like you have to be vague with this. It's a book that will just toy with your emotions because you don't know what is going on. So it's a perfect Halloween read. It's not spooky really, it's not scary, it's just going to mess with your mind of what's real and what's not real and trying to figure out what's going on and then never figuring out what's going on. So I really enjoyed it, highly recommend it. Audiobook I just started that I want to mention that I haven't finished quite yet, but I still feel like it's being buzzed about a lot lately and a lot of people love it, and that is Sadie Sadie by Courtney Summers. This is a very gripping, very harrowing YA book about a character named Sadie. His little sister was brutally murdered, and he's really distraught about that. She decides to run away, or at least people think she's run away because she's so distraught over her sister's death. But really, Sadie knows who has killed her younger sister, so she goes out to find said person. And people think, like I said, that Sadie has just ran away, and so they kind of reached out to this popular radio personality, Wes McCrae, who actually has a podcast, and they're like, figure out where Sadie, find Sadie. And he doesn't really think, you know, it's not that big of a deal, but then he delves into it and he decides to kind of devote his podcast to figuring out where is Sadie, what's happened to her younger sister, what is going on. So this book is kind of multimedia in the fact that it's told like half through Sadie's view, and it's also told through the podcast. You're getting transcripts of the podcast, and the audiobook is phenomenal. Like I said, I've just started it, but I highly recommend it because of the podcast element. I've heard that this book is very dark, very harrowing, and I have just started. It is very dark, but I can't say for sure how dark it gets. But you know, there's also a ton of trigger warnings in this book, I believe. I haven't been far into it, so I don't know quite yet for sure. I know rape may be one of them, maybe child abuse as well. There's a whole bunch of different trigger warnings. If I just started it, so I can't say for sure how many are really accurate or not. But either way, if you want like a really intense, deep, dark mystery of a YA book, I would highly recommend this one, and the audiobook is phenomenal so far. Next up, I have The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, which I also just started. Forgive me, I'm in the middle of a readathon right now, so that's why I've just started a lot of these books, is because I was saving them for said readathon, so forgive me. This book follows Elizabeth Frankenstein, and she gets very close to Victor Frankenstein and the Frankenstein family. And of course, she discovers Victor Frankenstein is a lot, you know, darker than she thought, and she gets involved with monsters and things like that. So I'm expecting like a really dark, twisty tale, and maybe a retelling of Frankenstein, or maybe like a spin on it, you know, just kind of different, which I think is great to read for Halloween. Frankenstein's always perfect for Halloween because it's Frankenstein. So this is a very short one, so in case you're wanting a really short book that's also kind of got like a Monster Mash type of vibe to it, I've just started it, so I can't say for sure if I like it or not. I will let you know. And the last YA book I want to talk about is My Plain Jane by Brody Ashton, Cynthia Han, and Jodi Meadows. This is a book, this is a retelling of Jane Eyre, only with ghosts. Jane Eyre, our main character, can see ghosts, and one of her ghosts is her best friends. So, and obviously she gets a job working for Mr. Rochester, and she discovers that his house is a lot more mysterious than she thought it was. And it's just a great Halloween read for the sheer fact of ghosts, honestly. It's not scary at all, so if you want like a scary book, this is not one for you. But if you just want one about ghosts and have that paranormal aspect to it, I highly recommend it. It's hilarious and funny, and the audiobook is amazing, so I added this in there because of the paranormal aspect of it. Now moving on to a couple of graphic novels. The first one is Through the Woods by Emily Harrell. I read this last year and I got it from the library, so forgive me as I don't own it. This is like 5 short stories all about like in the woods, which is beyond scary to me because like I avoid the woods at all costs. So it's very vibrant with the colors, like red is very predominantly used in this graphic novel. I'm sure you can understand why, but there are 5 different stories. Each of them are creepy and will leave you like, ugh. It's just a great Halloween read, honestly, and it's super fast because it is a graphic novel. So I highly recommend it if you're looking for like kind of a dark, in the woods kind of thing. If you like that, this might be right up your alley. And the other one I want to recommend is Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, by Robert Aguirre Saccosa. Hopefully I said that right. Of course, I'm sure you've heard about the Sabrina adaptation coming to Netflix very, very soon, and this is actually based on this, like the dark version of Sabrina. So this is just the volume 1 of it. I believe volume 2 is coming out very soon, and just finished it. Very dark, very gruesome. Definitely gonna be an interesting Netflix adaptation, let me tell you that. But if you just love Sabrina and you want like a really dark, witchy, you know, book with a whole bunch of different graphics, a lot of blood using, a lot of different things, I would highly recommend Sabrina. Again, super fast read, but I mean, this is literally perfect for Halloween. Like, this would be a great thing to do, is to read this and go ahead and just binge the show. At least that's what I'm going to do. Lastly, I want to talk about some middle grade books. So the first book I want to talk about is City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. This is the first book in a series, a duology, I'm not quite sure, and it's all about this girl named Cassidy who can see ghosts. Ever since she had an almost near-death experience, she can see all of the ghosts. And the and her best friend is actually a ghost. What's even weirder is her parents are kind of like ghost experts. They have written several books about ghosts and seeing, you know, the paranormal experience, and her parents get a show like following ghosts and exploring ghosts. And so first episode takes place in Scotland, so obviously Cassidy and her ghost best friend, her parents, all go to Scotland and learn more about ghosts. And Cassidy learns that not all ghosts, like her BFF, are very friendly, and she gets caught up in a lot of adventures. I really enjoyed this one. It's a cute book. It's not really super scary, but it does have a couple of, like, I don't know, I guess in the movie term you could say jump scares, but overall I found it adorable. I think it's a great Halloween read because it's about a girl that can see ghosts, and she's learning more about her world of seeing ghosts because she can like turn back the curtain, or she calls the veil, and she can go like into ghost land and things like that. And I really liked it. I will definitely continue with the series because it's such an atmospheric read, especially since it took place in Scotland. I felt like I was there. I loved it. Another great middle grade read is Scream and Scream Again by R.L. Stein. This is actually another short story anthology where it has a whole bunch of authors in it and has 20 heroine tales by variation of authors. These are very, very short tales. I want to say like maybe 20 pages, maybe less of each one. And they're kind of, you know, you can tell they're middle grade. They're, you know, kind of spooky, but not really spooky. Like they're not scary, but rather spooky, I guess you could say. But if you're just looking for a fun time with 20 like short stories, they're kind of scary, but they're like middle grade, like scary, which is like my kind of scary. This is a great book for you. Just have a fun time. Have a fun and spooky time. And the last book I want to recommend to you is, of course, Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel. Now, I have not read this, but I don't know if I'm going to read it because I don't think I'll have the time to read it this month. But, I mean, you have to kind of recommend a Hocus Pocus book, am I right? Because it is Hocus Pocus, one of the best, probably the best Halloween movie of all time. So I have not read the sequel, but I know it takes place within two characters' child. I don't want to spoil it for if you haven't seen Hocus Pocus, but if you haven't seen Hocus Pocus, what are you doing? But either way, I mean, Hocus Pocus, like, when you hear it, it's automatically attributed to Halloween because it's such a classic, at least to me. But yeah, if you just want another good middle grade, fun, spooky time, Hocus Pocus is for you. I'll read it this month. If not, definitely next year. There you have it. Those are all my spooky books recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed it and got some recommendations out of this. I hope I gave you a good plethora of different genres with YA, with graphic novels, and with middle grade. As each year goes on, I read more and more spooky books, so my list every year will just grow longer and longer. I hope that is okay. If you have some favorite YA spooky titles or middle grade or graphic novels, please leave them down below because I am always looking for more. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.